at the time that I was like really an important player, I didn't see myself as really all that influential or important. I mean, I get that now looking back. I just wanted to share this culture, you know, with my downtown friends. And because New York is a media capital, there were documentary teams from NHK Tokyo, from Canal Plus Paris, France, from BBC, from ZDF Germany, and so it spread out to Tokyo, London, Paris, and Germany before it went to Pittsburgh. You know, I mean, that's how weird it was, you know? And so it spread around the world. And then really in many ways, the way that I was instrumental in spreading hip hop culture, especially b-boying, around the world was through my videos and tapes and all the film. I mean, I'm the king of hip hop, old school film and video. I mean, nobody has more than me before 83 combined in the world. And my archives now are in the Library of the Performing Arts at Lincoln Center. Jerome Robbins' dance division, who choreographed West Side Story, interestingly enough. So, yeah, you know, in the 90s, as I'm struggling and everything that I was involved in the early first wave of international hip hop is kind of died out, and it's all rap, you know, DJing, gone underground, dance, gone underground, writing, gone underground, right? It's over for the other three, and it's only about rap. I just, you know, was like looking to write my scripts and make my films and get back into my filmmaking, which is how I started in the game. And it was interesting. I went to one of these conventions that I only found out about later in '97, Mickey Blue Eyes in England. He had this convention called Fresh Fest.
Yeah, Fresh. Yeah, yes.
And I'll
Fresh
never
Fest,
forget this moment. This was really telling for me. I'm like bumming around, like struggling. I'm a student again after like 10 years after being out of school. I'm struggling. I don't have much money. I'm like subletting places. And I get this email, hey, do you want to come to Fresh Fest and be on a panel? And it's this hip hop convention. I didn't even realize that they had these conventions going on in Australia and in Japan and all these different parts of the world. And I'm like, yeah, sure. You're going to pay my ticket and give me an honorarium. Okay, I'll show up. So I get there. They put me up in this kind of hotel that's really just an old Victorian home. And there's like a bunch of kids from all over the world saved their money of their little jobs here and there to come to this thing and to be on to witness these panels like Asia One has done with B-Boy Summit. You know, she's been doing it for years. What was going on in other places years ago, and I'm on a panel and I'm you know finding out that wow, hip hop is in conventions and all around the world. I'm like blown away. I'm staying in this hotel and these Polish kids from Warsaw, Poland. And clearly they're breakdancers, I can tell by the how size they are, what they're wearing. They don't speak any English, and they're trying to communicate something to me. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak. They don't speak English. I don't speak Polish. They start to clear out the furniture and the rug from the hotel lobby. And I'm like, okay, they're gonna get down, right? And one of these kids. And they must be 16, 17 at the most, 14. And one of these kids goes into a routine. And I'm watching this routine. I'm going, wow, this looks familiar. And the deeper he goes into the routine, the more familiar it gets to me. And finally, he goes into this freeze and he has this look on his face. And I realized he just did step for step Chino Action's routine on Graffiti Rock. And it made me realize that he had learned how to do this from pirated bootleg tapes, VHS tapes that he got from somebody, and they copied it, and it was probably grainy, could hardly make it out. But that's how kids in Poland, kids in Seoul, kids in South Africa, kids in Tokyo, kids all over the world were learning how to dance through VHS tapes initially, then maybe later on DVDs. And I'm watching this and I'm realizing And I can tell this by their body language and their looks on their faces and their smiles, that they said without words, but with action, A, we learned how to break and dance because of New York City Breakers, probably Rocksteady and everybody else too. B, we are these working class and poor kids, just like those kids in the Bronx. And those kids, through their creativity, gave us inspiration and a voice. And if it wasn't for the New York City Breakers and it wasn't for those tapes, we may not be doing this, and we may be in jail, we may be dead. And they were saying in action, thank you. And when it hit me that they were saying thank you, my emotions, I'm feeling it now, my emotions swelled. My heart went in my throat, and I had to thank them and ran out of the hotel and ran outside and burst into tears. Keep in mind, I was struggling at the time. I was depressed. I felt down. I felt like, what was I going to do with my life? It was like I was in a really ugly place. And New York can be hard on you when things aren't going well. And these kids told me in action, not words. And any filmmaker will tell you action's more powerful than dialogue, than monologue. To show a story rather than tell a story is so powerful. And they did that for me. And they told me who I was in this game. They told me and showed me how important I was and thanked me. And I haven't looked back. I mean, it was such a profound moment in my life, and I'll never forget them. And I'll always appreciate and thank them for that, for them to tell me that I made something important in this world. I did something important. I was part of a small group of impresarios and artists. Of course, the artists are number one, but you can't do this without people like me putting you on stage, putting you in front of the film, putting you on camera, putting you on tape. And it just, it made me feel like $1 million.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
There you
It
go.
made me
powerful.
feel like $1 million.
And like I said,